Okay, so it's a Saturday morning for me here in Canada, and I have the incredible pleasure of having Amanda Shafack with me. She's a Flutter developer at Ejara, which is a startup based in Douala in Cameroon in Africa. And Amanda, thank you so much for taking time of your day here to be with me. So it's a great pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Marcelo. I'm very pleased to be here and thank you for the opportunity, for this opportunity. Yeah.
Amanda, the first question I usually ask my guests is when did you realize that computers and programming were something that were of interest to you?
I realized I was interested in computers in high school. So I was taking a course, so that was like a computer science course. And then I was doing very well in the course. So my teachers felt that, okay, Amanda, maybe you should look at computer science more closely. Yeah. But the things I did were mainly theoretical. Yeah, but we got the chance to do some little Google docs typing or knowing about computers and some little things, but we did not get to know about programming in detail. The little exposure to programming was just about Pascal and Cobalt, and the teacher just demoed a few things, and I was like, okay, okay, but I mean, I was doing well in the subject and it was fun. All the things I was learning were very interesting, yes. And I think that honestly, when I got to the university, I chose, I wrote many entrance exams. I think one was to do, to be a medical doctor, and the other was to do engineering. But honestly, I can't really say that I had my head focused on one thing. Normally, back in Cameroon, when you get your advanced levels certificate, so that's like the degree you get after completing high school, your next step is like, okay, I'm going to write all the entrance exams, and whichever one I pass, that's where I'll go to. Like, yeah, so that was the case for me. But luckily, I passed the entrance exams into the College of Technology at the University of Oya, and then I began my studies in computer engineering. But again, I was lost. Like, I did not really know what to expect. All I knew was I had to pass my courses and then get a good GPA and move forward. But I think the big milestone that exposed me to programming in detail, practically, and programming that is done in the industry was when I started volunteering for tech communities. That was the big hit for me that really opened my eyes and made me understand that, okay, this is how good I need to be in programming. These are the things that I need to learn in order to have a career in the tech industry. So yeah, that's it.
That's fantastic. So let's go back to high school a little bit more. So before we go into the university time, can you tell us a little bit more about how was it high school in Cameroon? How what did you learn there, and how did it add to your overall education, preparing you for university over there?
All right. So I went to a boarding school in Cameroon, a Catholic boarding school, and it was very interesting and challenging because we were doing a lot of out of school work, like a lot of hard work, like farm work, a lot of cleaning, a lot of things that make you become a hardworking, independent, and disciplined person, right? And since it's a boarding school, you're away from your family, you need to learn how to manage your resources. and become that independent person and like have a taste of what managing resources is like in the real world. So I think my high school education really built my mental discipline and prepared me to become independent. Yeah, in the real world. Yeah.
And how was it the transition from the high school to university? Did you go straight to university, or did you have some sort of decision making process that you have to go through to choose what course you needed to take? Because you mentioned to me that I think you had to write some tests, right?
Yes. All right. So my transition from high school to the university was a bit smooth. The only thing was I wasn't exactly sure of what career I wanted to do, but I was sure that it was clear to me that I was going to pursue a career in science, but I wasn't exactly sure of what I was going to do. So I wrote entrance exams into medical schools, engineering schools, and even to study mathematics. Yes. And usually, since, so this was during vacation, like I had completed my end of year exams for high school, and then I was waiting for results. So you have like this sort of 9 months or 6 months gap before entrance exams into colleges open. So this is the period when I was applying and stuff. Yeah. So I was initially accepted into the faculty of science to study mathematics. So I started that for 2 weeks. And then when the entrance exams results for engineering school came out and I was accepted, I switched to engineering. Yeah, so that was my transition into college.
And how was it university for you? Because you got mathematics, then you switched to engineering, and how did you get to computer science?
Okay, actually, I'm not sure if computer science and software engineering, I think they are usually separated, like, or we say that they are different, but I think they are closely related fields like software engineering and computer science. I think computer science is more theoretical or more research focused, and software engineering is more practical.
So you go into software engineering. When did you find Linux? When did you realize that Linux was out there? Did it come before you start to volunteer, or how was it that you found out about Linux and you started to use Linux?
I learned about Linux when I started volunteering for tech communities. So you in Boya is a very active tech city. So you have many tech communities in Boya. So you have Google Developers Group, developer cycles from Facebook. You have GitHub ambassadors. You have so many tech communities. You also have Docker, like there's so many. So when I got into the university, these tech communities always organize events like at the beginning of the year to like introduce newbies into to the tech stacks and all of that. So and also a couple of seniors had started contributing to open source, and they had already gotten involved with open source organizations. So I think the first event that I attended was Google I/O Extended, and you had people who are taking part in Google Summer of Codes share their stories, share their experiences, and some of them were working on Linux-based projects and yeah, open source projects in general. So that was the first time I learned about Linux. And then you have these yearly events that Google Developers Group Boya organizes. It's called Install Fest, like Hacktober Fest, like it's an Install Fest. So every year at Install Fest, they get people to install.
Um, Amanda, can you tell us a little bit about the fintech space and its social impact in Central Africa?
Um, I don't have much to share, but the little I can share is I think the fintech space in Central Africa is still young and it's still growing because relatively to West Africa, like Nigeria and Ghana, you have relatively fewer fintech startups in Central Africa. But I think that there's still a lot of opportunities in Central Africa. It's young and it's growing very rapidly. Yeah, and the startup I work for is called Ejara. It's a fintech startup, and the main product is based on um, enabling locals to invest, to save money, and to buy cryptocurrencies from local providers like mobile money and yeah, the rest. So that's that's some little perspective of what I have about the fintech space in Central Africa.
So you mentioned that you started to volunteer with some communities over there, and eventually that's what took you to find about Linux and start using Linux. I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the work that you have been doing for women tech makers.
The work I've been doing for women tech makers has been all about increasing the number of active female developers and techies in general. I took up the role as the ambassador for Women Tech Makers Boya sometime in 2017, and at the time we were about 20 members. So after volunteering for about a year, I got that leadership role to take the community forward. And so far, um, my work has been to move the community forward in numbers and in just getting more people aware about the opportunities that are out there for women and making women know that they have equal opportunities in the tech space as men and they can do whatever they set their mind to. So far, Women Tech Makers Boya stands at 200 active members, and I'm very happy to say that we have many experienced female developers who are doing great things back in Cameroon here and abroad. And I'm very also excited to say that the company that I work for, Ejara, has like 80% of the developers are females and a good number of them are from women tech makers boya. That just goes to show that we've created some great impacts over the years and the community is gaining so much more exposure because we were also able to get UNESCO and some other organization fund some projects um, because of the impact that we've created over the years. So yeah, I'm glad to share this story and that's the work that I was able to accomplish working with Women Technicals Boya since 2017. But currently, I'm no longer the ambassador. I just act as a mentor and an advisor. So I've handed over the leadership role to some amazing ladies who have continued taking the community forward.
Amanda, can you tell us a little bit about your work as a member also of the GDG, the Google Developers Group? I think you're a co-organizer of that community over there as well, correct?
So actually, my leadership role as a Women Techmakers ambassador is closely linked to the role I had as a Google Developers Group co-organizer. So normally, on the GDG team, that's Google Developers Group team, you always have a lady who who is the lead for Women Tech Makers Boya. And automatically, that lady is a co-organizer for Google Developers Group. So aside the work that that ambassador does for Women Tech Makers Boya, um, my role as the Google Developers Group co-organizer was to make sure that um, at events like Google I/O Extended, DevFest, we also have many more women attending and many more women taking active part in the boot camps, in the tech events, and what have you. Yeah. So these two roles were closely linked.
How did you start your work as a Flutter developer? How did you get involved with Flutter?
Great, great, great. I'm always very excited to share, to talk about Flutter and to share anything related to it. I'm not very sure why, but it's just exciting to talk about. So yeah, so being involved with tech communities and taking up these leadership roles, I was very or I was part of all the tech events happening, and during the biggest events that happen yearly, like Google I/O Extended and DevFest, you always have the latest updates shared of the latest Google technologies. So you always have things shared about Android, Flutter, Chrome, like what's new. Like every year you have these. And in 2018, when Flutter became stable, there were a lot of events that were organized around Flutter, and I think that what captured my attention was the fact that you can build like for multiple platforms on the go using Flutter. And I had started learning Android some time back, and I had some ideas that I wanted to bring to light. But then, when Flutter became like one of the main technologies that a lot of focus was placed on, I was like, okay, if I want to put this idea in the market, I don't want to support just Android. I want to support like all these platforms, like yeah. So I think that's what brought me closer to Flutter, and I learned about Flutter more through the events we organized and other tech communities in Cameroon organized. So that was like my entry point to getting to know about Flutter and getting started with it.
How do you find Flutter as a technology, and how is it helping you in your work at Ejara?
Flutter is really great, and I think that one of the things that I love most about it is the community. The community is very active and helpful. It gets the job done. Anyway, the product I'm working on, it's still called Ejara, right? I'm able to build screens exactly as they look. And when I compare the experience to Android, I think that I'm more productive with Flutter because with back in like Android has evolved over the years, but back in the days when I used to use it, the like you have to build the UIs, the front end separately, and then link it to the back end, right? But now with Flutter, you just use widgets to connect to do everything, and you have so many widgets or libraries available on pop.dev, and like you can just be creative as you want, like it's just limitless. So I'm very satisfied with what I'm able to achieve with Flutter, and also the fact that we are able to deploy our application both on Android and iOS on the go at Ejara because we are using Flutter. So I think that's really cool. I really look forward to continue growing my career in Flutter. And recently, Flutter was mainly front end, but recently there are some back end technologies that have been added to it. And there's also like a game toolkit that has been added to it. So I'm really looking forward to exploring that in more details. Yes. And one very exciting thing that happened this year with Flutter was there's a yearly Flutter hackathon, and I happened to like win a prize for the very first time during this hackathon. So the challenge was to build a puzzle game with Flutter, and I paired up with two other friends, a designer and a fellow Flutter developer, and we were able to come up with some African themed puzzle game, and our submission won community prize. So that was a really big motivation to me, like to say that okay, I can do a lot of cool stuff like within a short period of time, and like there's like a bright future for like anybody who's just like starting and who's just excited to like build something great.
And I think you have been making contributions as well to Dart and to Flutter, correct?
Correct. But not so big contributions, just very little contributions. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what's the process that you need to follow to make those contributions as well?
They are all open source projects, so it's open to anybody who wants to contribute. So the process is just the same, like is like most open source organizations. You join the community channel. You read the contribution guidelines. You take a look at issues and pick one that you can work on, and then you like ping the maintainers to say, okay, oh, you like to work on this task, and get that assigned to you. And then you work on the project. When you're done, you submit your PR, and then the review process starts up. And then when everything is fine, it gets merged. So yeah. So one project that I got to work on was the Flutter plugins project, and equally another was the Dart website. So I made some decent contributions to these projects.
And Amanda, what can you tell us about the customer base or the user base in Cameroon specifically and Africa in general for the kind of products that Ejara and yourself are building there?
In Cameroon specifically, the customer base for Ejara may be somewhere around maybe 1,000 active users. Yes, 1,000 active users. Ejara is actually 2 years old. Yeah, so I'm not very sure if this is a decent number, but I think that I think it's a decent number for Cameroon, for the user base in Cameroon. And I think that Ejara has a very bright future in Cameroon because because most people in Cameroon don't have bank accounts, right? The average Cameroonian doesn't have a bank account, but rather the average Cameroonian has what you call a mobile money account, right? And now Ejara is giving the average Cameroonian the opportunity to do investments and save using their mobile money accounts. So that is really some cool innovation that Ejara is bringing in. And I think that in the next 5 years, Ejara is going to um, grow rapidly and really create some great impact in Cameroon. Because I mean, everybody's looking for ways to invest. Everybody's looking for ways to multiply the little money that they get at the end of the month. And there are two very exciting features that Ejara provides. One is being able to buy shares, like buy shares from maybe companies in Cameroon and abroad as well. So maybe you can buy stocks from, like, for example, Facebook or Google or Amazon, right? And another cool feature is being able to buy tokenized bonds. So, for example, if maybe a company is building a road and they need some big capital, right? Ejara can take that project, and usually those projects are worth billions of francs. And the average Cameroonian cannot afford a billion francs to invest in such a project and reap some benefits. But Ejara is bringing that to the average person, and Ejara splits that big project into sizable chunks. So let's say 250K or 500,000, and then the an average person can now buy these little chunks and reap the benefits from investing by buying these little chunks. So I think that those are the two most exciting features that Ejara provides. And the third exciting feature is also being able to buy cryptocurrencies again with your mobile money account. I think that there's really a lot of growth prospects for Ejara in Cameroon and in Central Africa in particular.
That's fantastic. How's the access to technology? Because I'm assuming the customers, the Ejara customers, and the people who are using similar products over there, they need to have access to a mobile phone. I'm just wondering if you could give us an idea how expensive it is, and what kind of technologies are available, and what are people doing over there to have access to the mobile phones that they need in order to access the services that they're looking for.
All right. So I think I really like to clear this concept that maybe foreigners have about Africa in particular. I think when most people think about Africa, most people think that, oh, maybe they don't have like good gadgets or access to some basic needs, right? But I would like to emphasize on the fact that 80% of people have smartphones, have tablets, have laptops, and what have you, right? Like the environment is very similar to other other is similar to the West, right? Like the only difference is maybe we are still an underdeveloped country, and we have maybe more poor people than the West. But you can picture it like your normal tech ecosystem or so. So yeah, so most people have smartphones, iPhones, Samsungs, all the great phones that you can think of. And yeah, so I think it's just a matter of acceptance, because the only difference is the acceptance of technology back home here is a little bit still timid when you compare it to the West. So many more people are still trying to gain trust in these technologies and in these tech products. So I think that that's just the challenge that we are dealing with. But there's a lot of progress when you compare it to maybe 5 years ago. There's a lot of progress. So yeah, we have Ejara has a good number of active users, and the number is growing. Yeah, and that's same for other tech communities, for other tech startups in Cameroon.
That's great, and it's great to hear that there's good access to phones and good access to the technology over there. Because, like you said, most people don't have a regular bank account, right? So the technology itself, it's kind of enabling those people to have, let's call a virtual or a mobile bank account. That's going, like you said, it's going to give them access to a number of different services, not only financial services, but other services that they need to push their lives forward as well, which is absolutely fantastic. And Amanda, switching topics a little bit here, I think you mentioned to me that you have also volunteered with the Genome Foundation, right? And I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the kind of work you have been doing with them.
I actually learned about the Genome Foundation through the Outreachy program. I applied for the Outreachy program and I eventually saw genome projects and I gained interest in them. I did a 3 month internship at the Genome Foundation and I was working on a project called the Translation Editor. So my internship goal was to add two features to that project to enable translators to reserve and upload translation modules directly from the translation editor. So when users finish translating on the translation editor, they move to a separate website called Damp Lies and upload those finished translation modules. So that was like a lengthy process. So my job was to shorten that process and get them doing these two tasks directly on the translation editor. It was a fantastic experience. Like it was a fantastic experience. I had an amazing mentor. Um, Shout out to Daniel Garcia Moreno, and I also equally had a fantastic outreach coordinator, Felipe Borges. Yes, I learned a lot during my internship, and I gained a lot of exposure that has indirectly pushed me to where I am currently. So that's the work I did at the Genome Foundation.
And Amanda, and I apologize if I'm not saying the name properly here, but I think it's Muzima, which is another contribution that you have made to the community, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that specific application?
So I've contributed minor contributions to a couple of open source projects that I just came in contact with, maybe through a friend or so. And Muzima happened to be one. So Muzima is some health application, and the work I did at Muzima was testing. So I was assigned some test tickets to test some features for a new release, for a new release that was to happen. And I can't really exactly remember what I was working on because it's been like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, I was able to complete that work and make that little contribution to Mozilla.
So if you look at Cameroon and if you look at what's happening over there in terms of technology, where are you seeing the community going? What do you think are the current needs, and what do you think the future looks like for them?
The tech ecosystem in Cameroon is very vibrant, very vibrant. You have people doing a lot of amazing stuff. Um, and and very interestingly, you have Cameroonian techies who now work at Google, Amazon, Facebook, you name it, like people who were my seniors who I used to learn from back in Boya when I was still a student. They're doing amazing stuff, and you have maybe over 100 tech startups in Cameroon, like so many startups, and the majority are in Boya. So we've nicknamed Boya Silicon Mountain, as in Silicon Valley in the US, because you have a lot of tech startups, a lot of tech communities in one geographical area, like in Boya. That's a nickname we gave it, and that name is gaining a lot of popularity for us in Cameroon because recently we've had a lot of investments from, I believe, the French government and I think the German government as well. The tech ecosystem is very vibrant. I think that our needs are mainly in terms of investment because the skills are there. You have many people also working remotely, many people doing freelancing, many people who are also like full-time techies or developers, engineers, what do you call it, for like tech startups. And like through my interaction with open source communities and with other techies across the globe, I've come to realize that the difference is not, it's not so much. I think that the only major difference that I see between these different tech spaces is the kind of investment that other countries in the West, in Europe, receive or have, and the number of years of existence of those companies. But I think that aside investments, I don't see, and maybe government policies that are usually a hindrance. Yes, because 2 months ago I heard that cryptocurrencies were banned in some African country. I can't recall the name, but I mean, if you, yeah, cryptocurrencies were banned in Central Africa or Beyak. Yeah, so I think that the major challenge for the tech space in Cameroon in particular is in terms of investments. Yes, I think that we have a lot of skilled people who are doing great things abroad and at home. And if we can have access to more investment opportunities and also market opportunities or like just general exposure, yes, I think that we people across the globe will get to know how skilled and how top notch techies are in Cameroon.
That's fantastic. You got exposure to a number of an experience with a number of different technologies over there, right? So you're working with Flutter, you work on fintech, and you had contributions to a number of different open source projects as well. I'm just wondering, is there any specific area of technology or anything that you do not work with today, but you'd like to work with at some point in your career?
Yes. So that's artificial intelligence and machine learning. That's something that I very closely look forward to gaining some good knowledge in, that I can apply in the nearest future. Yes. Because like I used to be very excited about robots and smart stuff, Internet of Things, um, like exhibitions, yes, that I used to see at during some tech events, yes. But definitely that's one area that I'm looking forward to. And also most recently the crypto the blockchain space, the cryptocurrency space, yes. Actually, I started gaining some good knowledge in it because of my work at Ejara. Because aside Flutter, we also have like a blockchain team and teams that deal with the cryptocurrency good stuff. So recently, that's something that I'm learning now, and I equally hope to like gain some good knowledge that I can apply aside my Flutter path.
That's great. When you look at not only Cameroon, but anybody out there who are listening to us and they have a desire to learn about technology and perhaps programming and perhaps following a career path similar to the career path they have followed, what kind of recommendations would you have to those people? What do you think they should be doing to motivate themselves and also move their learning and move their careers forward?
So my advice to anyone who is interested in a career path in technology is first of all to know that everything is difficult in quotes it just depends on how you perceive it, right? Like maybe some people cannot be good chefs. Some people see cooking as difficult. Some people see teaching as difficult, right? So because most people see engineering or technology as being difficult in quotes, right? So my first advice is to say that it just depends on how much you love it, right? And what your mentality towards it is. If you love it, you're going to do what needs to be done in order to excel in it. And to be honest, if you can only persevere, put in the work that is necessary, and keep pushing forward until you get there, you will definitely get there. Like, let me just quickly share my failure story. Yeah. Like, so as somebody who was very involved with tech communities and who seemingly seems to know a lot of technologies and who was experienced, many people maybe thought that, oh, Amanda should be working at some big fan company by now or so. But unfortunately for me, I am not at that level right now. But this is just to say that I've had a lot of struggles. I've had a lot of struggles to really gain hardcore skills as a developer because people saw me excelling more as a community manager, but they did not know how good my programming skills were. So they just assumed. But because I loved programming, I told myself that I was going to do what it takes until I get a successful career as a developer. So I I had I after graduating, I got will I say I began a startup with some friends, and this was more like an incubation program that some telecom company in Cameroon offered to us. So they gave us the opportunity to build a tech startup for ourselves while doing some consultancy work for them. But like after spending about a year and 3 months with that in that program, I felt that it was not a good fit. I wasn't happy with what I was doing because I was already assuming a role as an operations manager because we had to split the startup into different departments and everybody had to handle one department and grow that department. But I wasn't willing to, I didn't see myself as an operations manager in the next 5 to 10 years. So I felt that if I really wanted to kick off my career as a developer, I needed to leave. I left that program and it was a very bold step because back home in Cameroon, when people get such an opportunity, it's really crazy to leave it behind in order to follow maybe what you call your passion. But I was willing to make that sacrifice for what I loved. And after leaving that behind, I focused on my coding skills. I got an online scholarship to do C programming and Linux. That was sponsored by the Egyptian government, and the program is usually called African App Launchpad. So I did that online program for a year, and right after that program, I felt very confident in my skills. And at the end of that program, I got accepted into Outreachy, where I began my 3 months internship at the Genome Foundation. So that was another great opportunity that I had to further solidify my skills. And afterwards, I began and after Flutter, I got the chance to get the job that I am currently doing right now. So I'm a mid-level Flutter developer at Ejara. And my journey has not been smooth as I'm saying it. I've had a lot of struggles. I've had a lot of rejections from companies. I've had a lot of rejections, but I was sure of where I wanted to be. I was sure that I loved programming and I wanted to do that. And I told myself that, Amanda, you're going to stay on this path until you meet your goals. And I'm happy to say that I was resilient, and I woke up each time I fell, and I kept moving. And today I've had this big win, and I can only look up to better things to come. So this is my journey, and the summary of my advice is, if you love something, if you love tech, or you're interested in it, just pick a focus, maybe development, maybe DevOps, whatever field. Just pick one field, focus on it, and stay on it until you meet your objectives. Yeah, like, if you like, hard work always pays. Hard work always pays. If you consistently put in the work, you will definitely reach your goals. That's what I have for you. Thank you.
That's fantastic. What can you tell us about the diversity of the community in Cameroon and in Africa? And also, what do we think we can do in general to have a more diverse tech community all over the place?
Again, 5 years ago, the diversity ratio was very small, but right now, I think we are gradually bridging that gap, because you have many communities that are focused on diversity, like women tech makers, for example. So you have the women tech maker branches all over Africa and the world. So you have these chapters who consistently organize events and initiatives to promote diversity, and more in particular, to promote, to get more women into the tech space. And you also have many other upcoming organizations like She Code Africa, Developers in Vogue, and just to name a few. There are these many programs, these many organizations that are doing a lot of good stuff to bring more diversity into the tech space, for Africa, or for Cameroon and neighboring countries in particular. So I think that the diversity issue is being addressed. It's an ongoing fight, if I can use that word. But I think that we are winning some battles, and it's just a matter of time before the impact spreads or grows as big as we would love it to be.
We need to see a more diverse community everywhere, right? So, Amanda, any plans for the future? Anything you can share?
Uh, what can I say? Okay, maybe some little advice. Again, I I really feel that if you're interested in technology, I think you should really consider contributing to open source projects, because that's usually the turning point for most people. You get to learn a lot, not only the technology, but how to communicate with people, and you equally get to meet great people. Like, I got to meet like great developers, Linux engineers that I could never have met if I did not get into the open source space. And I've made a lot of networks, like Felipe, and I'm reaping a lot of benefits because of the people that I know. And it's just such a great experience to connect with different people from different parts of the world, to learn about their cultures, how things work in their local communities. I mean, those exchanges always make you grow in new ways and make you have like a better perspective on things. So I really encourage people to get into open source. And I mean, like, we use some cool products for free. It's also an awesome thing to maybe improve these free products that you use and just make the world a better place.
And Amanda, do you have any recommendations for books, music, or movies, or games, or anything else you'd like to recommend? Not necessarily technology related.
I'm sorry, I've forgotten the names of the channels, but there's like daily motivation. There are channels like daily motivation, motivation to study, and a couple of interesting channels on YouTube. So if you just do some search on YouTube on motivation and productivity hacks, you come across some amazing channels that you can benefit from. Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have any cool stuff to recommend. Yeah, that's it.
Amanda, we have been talking here for close to an hour. Are there any questions that you believe I should have asked you and I did not? Anything else you'd like me to ask and give you the opportunity of telling others?
Not really. uh, Not really. I think you've covered some very decent questions, and I've really talked about my experience and some good work that I've done. Yes, I think we've covered some good ground. Yeah. Sorry, none.
Excellent. Nope.
Okay.
Excellent. Glad to hear. So, would you like to leave any contact, social network, Twitter account, anything that people can use to contact you?
Yes, definitely. I go by LK Mandy. So LK Mandy, that's the username I use for most of my social profiles. I'm very active on Twitter, yes, Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you just type LK Mandy, you should see me. Yes.
That's great. And Amanda, I know it's a little over 6 p.m. your time in Cameroon. And I just wanted to take a moment here to thank you for sharing your story and your experience with us. And it's absolutely a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you again for your time today. Yeah?
Thank you so much, Marcelo. I mean, the pleasure is mine. It's an amazing opportunity to share my little experience, right? And when I looked at the people who have done this podcast in the past, I was actually shocked you reached out to me because I saw people with really great profiles, like people who have created programming languages and who have worked at NASA. And I was like, why does Marcelo want to interview me? So I was like, okay.
It's because you have a lot to contribute as well, Amanda. So, and it's again, like I said, it's been a privilege to speak with you. I appreciate everything that you shared with us today, and I look forward to stay in touch and hearing more about your progress and the folks in Cameroon. And it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.